Hello, and welcome to Postcards from a Soul and Her Human. I'm the human, Gina. Ah, it is a lovely morning here. Summertime. And during the summer, I try to spend as many mornings as possible at a local park where I stand in the river. We have a beautiful river running through this area, and water is very important to me. And I don't know if you feel this way or not, but being near or around water has always been a calming thing for me. Like I can be having a horrendous day, and if I go to the park by the river or to the lake, or if I'm lucky enough to be near an ocean, I can just look across and I'm instantly calmed. And I always thought that it was just my ability to see in the distance, which I believe that is a big part of it. So even if I'm in a desert, uh, like on a trip to New Mexico, I remember finding a spot where I could see all the way across the desert to the mountains, and just the ability to see that distance has always given me this just perspective. Like it's a physical calmness or maybe an emotional calmness that allows me to be calm physically, but I've always been able to calm myself if I'm around water or I can see in a long distance. So if I'm in a high vista, where in a building or on a hill, and I can see far across something, that's always been a very calming and settling thing for me. So as a part of my well-being routine or my wellness routine, I go to the water every morning. And what I'm learning about, my carbon-based body and the electromagnetic energy that we're made up of, and the sun, the energy of the sun, that the water conducts that electromagnetic energy, and it helps it flow through you, exchanging energy with the earth and the universe more efficiently and more effectively. So although I used to always sit with my feet on the ground, bare feet on the ground, because that's a way to connect with the earth, and it's so important for us. We're made out of the same material as the earth and everything. So when we sit or stand on the ground with bare feet, we are connecting with that energy, and it helps to heal us and infuse us. The earth infuses us with her energy, and if we focus, we can really kind of conduct the energy from the universe, through our body into the earth, and kind of do that energy exchange at will, and really renew ourselves. And so it's just like the plants, when they're planted in the earth, they get the energy from the sun, and they thrive from the combination of rain, sun, and earth. I mean, those three elements are what allows the plants to grow and flourish, and allows for so many different species of plants. And when you think about it on that scope, I mean, animals too, we're all made of the same thing. We're just as humans and animals, we're not planted in the ground, so we don't have that benefit of that constant energy exchange, but we are the same. So if you think of it from that perspective, the connection to the earth is extremely important. And as we uh, understand that, we become more engaged with the earth, and then the sun, and then the water. If you're lucky enough to live near a body of water of some sort, even a lake, a river, ocean, inlet, whatever, you benefit from that connection. I mean, it's inexplicable, of course, but it's something that your body just knows and your energy just knows. And if you get out of your brain, you can appreciate without needing to understand it fully. So I go to the river every day. I have this beautiful spot, and I just go roll up my pants and take off my shoes, and I go stand in the river for up to an hour, um, if I can, and I feel renewed by that. And so it's become a big part of my wellness routine. And so wherever I live, I mean, that is going to have to be an element of the environment, that there's going to have to be water somewhere where I can get to it every day. And if I'm very lucky, I will live on the water someday, and I will be able to walk down to my backyard into whatever body of water is there. It's not only an electromagnetic thing, conducting the energy and exchanging it with the earth and the universe. The sun is incredibly healing. And we overlook that because we fear the sun, because the sun causes skin damage and skin cancer and all these horrible things. But the sun is source of life. It is maybe not the originating source, but it is the sun's rays are healing, and they provide energy, and our bodies are made to take that energy in. So when we avoid and ignore the sun, or we wear sunscreen, which is something I stopped doing, we avoid or interrupt that connection, that healing connection that the sun provides. And again, the combination of the sun, the water, and the earth is just it's better than any spa. And if you want to heal illness or disease, uh, do that first. There are many, of course, I'm not an herbalist or a doctor, but there are many ways that we heal ourselves if we just connect to our most natural selves. And that's not really what I want to talk about as a whole. What I really want to talk about is, when I do go on these little journeys into the water, um, I'm at my best mentally. I can think straight. If I have a conundrum or a problem or something that's troubling me, I know once I go to the water, I get to that perspective to get the clarity I need to figure out what I need to do. And it's gotten to the point where it is not even a question anymore. It's just I mean, I definitely have a process that I have to go through. I have to think about something for about 24 hours before I make a decision, because I have this method of processing things, which is, at first I hear about it and it causes me either anguish or excitement. And if I react out of that energy, I'm more than likely making poor decisions. So I allow myself to kind of calm down from that. And then I go through all the way to the other end where I'm almost apathetic about it, where I don't really care about it anymore at all. And of course, in that energy, I wouldn't do anything. So I allow that energy to go back to what I call the middle, or, just imagine a pendulum swinging from one side to the other. Once the pendulum comes to a rest in the middle, that's where the decision can be made, where I've explored my, anxiety or excitement, and I've gone all the way to the other end where I'm like, whatever happens, happens. And I allow myself that process so I can have clarity. And in that clarity, I know I'm connected to my intuition, and my intuition is my gut, and that tells me what to do. And I've gotten very, very good at following this process. Where in my old life, I used to react, and of course, when you react out of pain or excitement, you sometimes do and say things you regret. And I can think of 100 examples. We all do it. But allowing myself this process, which is something I taught myself during my healing, um, really just puts me in a position where I never make a bad choice. And of course, there are no bad choices. You either are led towards learning with a blessing on the other end, or you're led to a blessing. So there's no wrong choice. But if I can save myself a lot of bullshit, you know what I mean, and unnecessary lessons, then I'm going to do that by allowing myself to have this kind of process of allowing whatever it is to get through the layers of my mental self, and then my emotional self, and then into my energetic self and into my intuition. And once I reach my intuition, I don't have to. There's nothing to think about. It's the answer is evident. So when something is bothering me or I have a decision to make, I go to the river or to a body of water. And during my healing, I used to sit for hours along the riverside or on the lakeside, and contemplating everything. And now I'm to the point now where I'm through my healing, and there's very little contemplation. It's really just take in whatever the issue is, sleep on it, go to the river. I'm good. Sometimes, I don't have the river and I can just sleep on it. It really depends on what it is, but I allow myself to process so I don't have to make a rash decision. And I think that's something we all can benefit from doing, no matter what our method is of dealing with things. But um, I went to the river this morning, actually just got back a little while ago, and I noticed while I was there in the last few days that I have this pressure inside my chest. And I remember this pressure when I was in deep into my healing. Um, and it feels like anxiety. And it probably is anxiety. It probably is what it is. It's this pressure in my chest that I can't breathe out, because I try deep breathing. I do energy exercises most mornings, not as much as I'd like to lately, where I just train my breath to to support my body and to support my mental self. So when something stresses me out, my breath is engaged and almost automatically, where I can get through a tough thought or feeling or situation without a lot of effort. And these are the benefits of getting on the other side of healing, where you're no longer trapped in your pain, and you're using strictly your willpower to live, but you're beyond your pain, and you're in a place now of these vast options, this vast energy that you learn how to manage, and you learn how to utilize and leverage. And um, so I remember when I was healing that this feeling of anxiety or pain or pressure in my chest would come, and I would just be exasperated. I'm like, what's going on? I feel like I'm going to die. And I would just go through this anxiety until I got to the point where the pressure just built, so it was so strong that it had to just explode out. And most times it was is during it would I would cry it out. And crying is a light way to put it, because I would explode in a tantrum. I mean, I would scream and moan, and during the worst of the pain, when I was still, going through it, I would just, without really understanding why, I would just moan and scream and then cry and then sob. And then when I would get on the other end of it, I felt this release, of course, this relief. And oftentimes I didn't understand what it was until after it was over. But then I can start to look back and kind of recreate the circumstances and kind of figure out where I was and what I was thinking of and what was happening. And I know I a lot of times could connect it to something specific that I was going through. Now, of course, it was easy when I was going through my breakup, because it was all about that, and then beyond that, and quite honestly, that was very brief. I mean, probably more brief than most people would believe, because it went on to something much deeper very quickly. And that depth was, um, I think I describe it in the book I'm writing, but I don't think I've described it anywhere else, so I will do it here. When I was going through my healing in the very early stages after my ex-husband finally moved out of the house, and if you remember, it took him 6 full months to finally leave my home, and it took a trip to the hospital where I had an energy break or a nervous breakdown, for him to actually leave. And it wasn't until after he left that I began to really heal from what I went through with him, which was a very unique situation. And if you haven't heard my earlier podcast, basically, uh, I learned that he wasn't who he said he was, and he kind of pretended to be. He played the role of a loving husband, while he was taking advantage of me in many ways. And I describe him as a vampire, an energy vampire, emotional vampire, whatever. I've come to terms with this with him and myself, and I'll say it again and always, in case this is the only piece you ever listen to. My ex-husband is somebody I treasure, because I know he played a role in my life that brought me to the most important place I'll ever go, which is to my um, emotional, spiritual awakening. So once I was going through that healing, early on, after I got back from the hospital and I started to be able to breathe deeply again, I started to have episodes where I would start to feel this pressure in my chest, and I would say, "Okay, something's coming. I can feel it." And I was kind of at the point when this happened where I understood this process, where when I feel like everything's fine and I'm just trying to kind of survive the day, where I don't have a lot of energy and I'm just kind of getting through. And then this energy would kind of build up in my chest, and it would start in my stomach, it would go up through my torso and into my chest, and it would stop there, and it would build. and it would become it's an anxiety, and where I feel very anxious and very unsettled, and like anything bad could happen in that moment. And this happened to me 2 or 3 times, but this pressure would build um, so much that I would, in this one situation, forgive me, I'm trying to articulate this. It's not easy to articulate. It's something that's very difficult to explain, and I think why I haven't really talked about it until now. But I was pushed energetically to the edge of my sanity. And the way I'm going to describe this is, I felt like almost I had an out of body experience. I was standing at my kitchen sink washing the dishes when this energy kind of came to a it crescendoed, or came to its precipice, or whatever the right word is. And instead of me getting relief from it or releasing it, I was pushed beyond myself, out of my body. And I felt like I was being shot like a rocket into the universe. And my eyes are closed, and I'm just trying to like survive whatever's happening. And I was brought to the fringes of my sanity. And I think when I'm using the word sanity, I think my mental self is what probably is more accurate. I was brought to the edge of my mental self, where I was kind of like holding on or standing on the edge of a cliff, and outward from the cliff was just blackness. But it was this vast blackness that was I could just feel went on forever. And in this blackness and on the edge of this cliff, I felt freedom. I can't even describe it any other way. But I feel like what happened is I went beyond my mental and physical self. My energy pushed me back out into the universe and wanted to give me a glimpse of what's beyond where I am. And I felt terrified beyond words, and at the same time, absolutely free. This was over a year ago, and it's still bringing up this an emotional feeling where I'm tearing up. I felt this freedom that was so intense that I couldn't conceive of it mentally, of course. And at the same time, I was terrified of falling. But in an instant, I was pulled back into my body, or into myself, or into the moment, and I laughed like hysterically. Like it was like a laughter that I don't even know where it came from. It was just like this freeing laughter. And then after the laughter came the tears. Oh my goodness. I fell to the floor or to the chair, I don't remember, and I just moaned and wailed. It was this incredible release that I can't describe, other than to say that I felt like I purged a demon out of my body. That I purged something that was stuck inside of me with thorns. And it had been embedded so long inside of me that I could never, without this experience, I could never dislodge it. And as I think back about that time, I feel like this was, and this might sound a little nuts, and that's okay. That's why I'm here, to sound a little nuts, I guess. I feel like it was a part of my energy that I was born with, that I brought with me from other lifetimes, that I've collected from other lifetimes. And that this karma that I had to heal from, that I finally healed from, I believe this karma was from not just this lifetime and the experience with my ex-husband and the experience of the abuse as a child. Um, this I brought with me from lifetimes. I collected over lifetimes. So this is ancestral karma. So I'm not just dealing with or identifying or experiencing energy from my own body and from this world, from this incarnation, but this energy has been collecting over lifetimes. And it embedded itself so deeply inside of me so it can travel through the lifetimes. And I believe that this experience that I had, this out of body experience to the edge of my mental ability, to the edge of my humanness and into the universe, where we all originate from, the source, that was my energetic self, my soul dislodging that energy. And I don't think my soul was alone. I think that all of the support from the beings in the universe, and there are many supporting us, because we are all one thing, we are all one energy. We are all carbon-based beings, and the earth is carbon-based, the universe, everything is. We have the same elements as everything else. So if you are able to allow yourself to look at life from that perspective, first of all, we're not alone. We're connected to everything else. We just have this human body that gives us this experience of an individual. So our souls can have this human experience. But once we pass away and our souls go on, we're back into our ethereal selves where we're just formless energy. So if you accept that scientific truth or you don't, that's up to you. But if you hear this and that invokes something in you, then allow that to see, because I believe that during that episode where, after an energetic break, which I think was necessary because my energy had to break in order for me to rebuild it. So if you look at an old home that needs, roof work and waterproofing, but it's on this incredible piece of property, you may not invest in fixing up the home. You may want to tear it down, and then you tear it down and you still have the foundation, which is still good, and you use that to rebuild on. And that's what I can liken this to, because if I didn't break energetically, I wouldn't have been able to get to this deeply inside of my energy in order to dislodge uh this tumor. And tumor is probably not a fair word because it has negative connotations. It's something that my soul has collected over lifetimes. And in this lifetime, I was meant to overcome it. This is the karma that I brought with me. So after I had this experience, I wailed and cried, and I was just mesmerized by what happened. I immediately wrote about it, and unfortunately I don't have it to share in writing because it's part of the book that I'm writing, which isn't done yet. Um, it was the most incredible experience I've ever had, and it showed me in a moment uh, it, the duality of my being. It illustrated that for me. The body that stayed on the ground, leaning on the sink, and the energy, my life force, who went up into the universe and showed me as best it could, my mental self, what we really are and where we really live and what's really important. And in that moment, I dislodged this thing inside of me. And in the wailing and crying, which probably was a good 20 minutes, I expelled it. I mean, there's no other explanation for what happened. I expelled this energy. And I've been told by my spirit team, my soul family, who I'm connected to and speak to every day, that in this lifetime, I was meant to overcome this karma, this generational. It's not even generational, it's ancestral. It's not just from this lifetime. And maybe not even from this planet. It's something that my soul has been collecting as an experiment, and because as souls, we decide what we want to experience in our incarnations. We decide what that is before we come. We choose the people the families that we're gonna incarnate into. We choose, our soul family are the members in the soul world who we've been with for forever. And I'm not talking a 1 or 2 lifetimes, I'm talking possibly billions of years. We are eternal. We don't ever die. And that's what the universe is made of, these beings, these eternal beings. And some of them are incarnated on other planets, or they're incarnated in other forms, or they don't incarnate at all. They stay light beings. And if you even allow yourself to entertain this idea, the freedom it gives you, my God, I mean, the freedom it gives you to imagine yourself as part of this incredible network of energy, and to understand that this body is in this form in order for us to live in this gravitational atmosphere. I mean, gravity doesn't ground energy. We have to ground it with something. So these bodies allow us to ground and to live this human life and to have these experiences. And one of the reasons why our soul wants to come here so bad to this earth is because of love. Because in this earthly place, in these earthly human forms, can experience love like nowhere else. So our soul wants to experience love. And the two things that my soul came here for, and I found this out through human design, which I highly recommend that you do your human design chart, and I'll link the the resource I used on the YouTube channel, not on my website, but on the YouTube channel. Oh, maybe I will there too. Um, the human design website, it's free. You just go and you can create a chart based on your birthplace and time, and date. And through this energy mapping, I learned a lot about myself. And I've talked about this briefly before, that we come in with different types of energy. We're either a manifester, so we came here to create things, to build, or we are generators, manifesting generators, or we're projectors. And I think there's one other one. But my energy is I'm a projector energy, and basically my energy is that of a muse to other people, to the generators. So I am the fuel in the engine, but I'm not the engine. I'm the wind beneath the wings of the birds. I'm the psychologist who helps the person figure out their purpose. I'm the motivating factor, the muse, and that's what I'm here for. And it's funny when I look back at my life, that's where I've performed the best. Even in my business with my ex-husband for 12 years, he started the business. I did not create it. He's a manifesting generator. That's his life path or his energetic path. And he created this business from nothing. He started with a one truck and trailer, and he started a DIY business where he rented it to people. And he didn't get very far with it, but he enjoyed it. And when I came on, which was a few years later, I quit my corporate job because I didn't want to be in that environment anymore. I tried to become a life coach, which wasn't fruitful for me monetarily. So at the same time, I helped him with his business and eventually ended up coming on full time. But with my presence, and this is going to sound a little egotistical, and forgive me, but I'm just identifying my strengths. With my presence in his world, in this business, we built it from one truck and trailer to 3 locations, in a few years. And that's where I shine. I am the wind beneath your wings, you know. And it took me a while to realize that, but once I did, it allowed me to let go of the need to produce in this world, in this life. Because all I cared about was producing, because that was all that was instilled in me. And why honestly I was so exhausted in my life, because as a projector energy, I'm meant to support others who are manifestors, who are creators or builders. So I'm not a manifester. So when all the times I tried to start my own business, which were several times, I never was successful. I was never successful. And I always thought, what the hell? I mean, I worked hard at this. I put all this money and effort in, and why can't I have my own business? I got a little pissy about it. And but I was very happy once I was able to affect my ex-husband and his idea so profoundly. I mean, we went from doing nothing. I mean, he was barely paying the bills to, I think our last year we did $500,000 in sales. And for 2 people, that's pretty cool. And I, give him full credit. I even to this day tell him, if it weren't for you starting this business, I could have never been a part of it. But it's because of me that it grew the way that it did. And I don't think he disagrees with that at all. So that's where my strengths lie. So when I go out into the world and try to produce and manifest or build with my hands, I'm always just left exhausted and empty-handed. So learning that I was projector energy helped me immediately change my life. I stopped doing the night appointments, and I made sure that I was home at a certain time every day, and I didn't work weekends anymore. Because the most important part for a projector is to rest and to regain and to gain um, my strengths by resting and by doing things that I enjoy. And honestly, it's one of the reasons why I ultimately left my business. But one of the reasons why, a year ago, when all this, not a year ago, a year after, sorry, when he finally moved out of my home, actually 6 months or 8 months before that is when I realized all this, and I pulled way back on my schedule. And of course, eventually it got me to the point where I was comfortable leaving because I knew my currency is not in exchanging my back for hours or my hours for money. That my energy is where my value lies. So I spent more time with myself, and by the time when he finally left my home, and after I unfortunately had that energy break, I knew I was in a space where I can finally learn to take care of myself. And with that information, that I was a projector and a source for others, and not here to produce, I knew that I could rebuild my life from this new blueprint. So after learning the energy type, of course, I've talked about the gene keys, which is really what helped me accelerate my healing. And the gene keys helps you identify the karma that you were born into this world with, and it's amazing. Um, I'm going to ask you not to use your brain too much when you're listening to me, because your brain does not understand and will never understand what the gene keys is. The gene keys is a method to engage with your energetic self. And you have to kind of supersede or overcome your mental self in order to engage at this on this level. And yes, we need our mental capacity to read and to contemplate and to research and to understand mentally the parts of it that are important for us to engage deeper. So I'm not saying you have to be brain dead, but you have to kind of balance your mental self with your physical, emotional, with your energetic self, which is really all about balance in this world anyway, in our lives. But the gene keys allowed me, once I understood my energy type, and the gene keys is based on the human design concept of energy. So it's if you, just think of it as another layer. So the energy design or the human design gives you the blueprint of your energy, and that gene keys fills in all the voids and all the blanks. It gives you a user's manual for your type of energy. It gives you a user's manual for the energy you brought into this life, your karmic energy. And I cannot express how important this is. And I know you've heard me use the word karma several times, but karma is what we have to overcome in order to be happy. And we may only identify karma as a superficial thing. So when I was in elementary school, I stole somebody's lunch money. So when I was in college, somebody robbed me. Oh, that was my karma. Yeah, I'm sure that's right. But I'm talking ancestral karma. I'm talking karma that we bring into this life with us. And we don't know what that is when we are born because we are ignorant to it, because we have to be in order to live the life to experience that karma. So what I mean by that is, I had to overcome the karma of being a victim, of feeling like a victim. So I invited the life experiences, my aura, my biomechanism, my energetic, um, the coat I wear, you know, calls into your life the experiences that have you experience your karma. So, from very early on, I dealt with this. I mean, I was molested by my father. I was molested by at least one male adult in my teens. I I always had an aversion to sex as an adult because of that. I mean, that makes sense. And in my second marriage, my last marriage, I invited an emotional vampire who took advantage of me in every way, including sexually. So until I identified as a victim and uh, looked that in the eye, I was going to experience that the rest of my life and probably into my next life or lives. But my soul wanted to resolve that in this life. That was my life path, my life journey, my purpose here. One of the purpose I have here. The other is I'm doing it right now. I'm teaching from that. So I'm sharing my life story and all my lessons as a way to give back to humanity, as a way to hopefully elevate and connect you to your healing, to your light, to your brighter, to your higher self, to your illumination. So, in order to overcome this victim, this identification as a victim, I had to be faced with situations where I was treated as such. It's really pretty simple. So, in this last one, it because I was meant to solve this or resolve this or overcome this in this life, I was broken in half energetically. I had to break down so I could get to the core of this karma, and it's embedded in our energy, and our energy is something that occupies our body, our human body, and so identifying my human design pattern, which is a projector energy, which means that when I'm with you as a partner, whether it's love or business, I'm the fuel and you are the builder. So I'm the architect and you are the builder. You know what I mean? I don't know if that's maybe the best example, but I'm the energy that motivates you. I'm the energy that carries you through what you need to do. And this has been true my whole life. It is especially true in my last relationship, in my 24-year marriage, and my 12-year business. Exactly how I was. I mean, if you think about it, an energy vampire, I'm the perfect person for an energy vampire because my energy uh, fuels you. So if I'm in a situation where I'm being taken from um, without compassion, I get drained, and that's why they're called vampires. So I, of course, understand all that now, and I understand how to avoid that in my future. But what's happened because I expelled this energy tumor, I will never deal with this again. I overcame that karma, so my soul does not need these lessons anymore. So the remainder of my life and any other lives that I conduct in this realm or others possibly will no longer include this element, this karmic element. And I've been informed that I've actually overcome all my karma. So I've freed myself energetically as a soul of the need to experience adversity in life in order to grow. So think about that for a second. How do we grow? We grow by experiencing adversity. And not all of us, some of us are beyond that. I'm sure many more than I realize, but when we go through pain, we learn. When we go through injury, we learn. When we go through, we lose money or material things, we learn. It's through pain or an anguish that we learn. It can be through altruism, it can be through charity, it can be through giving, of course. But you have to advance your soul to a certain point in order to be able to do that, right? So if you're giving from a place of pain, you're doing it as a way to satisfy some demon who can't be satisfied. The demons have to be exercised. They can't be satisfied because then we're just living a life in service of them. So if you give without wisdom, you're drained by giving, and wisdom is only gained by overcoming. So when you think about karma, think about it that way. Think about being born with something that you have to overcome. It's almost like a a Rubik's cube or an escape room. Why not use the tools that help you figure it out? You're not going to be able to stand up at one point in your life and go, okay, I think I know what it is, and I'm going to take a shot in the dark. I mean, you can do that and spend your lifetime, probably many lifetimes, doing that. But I can only say from my experience, by learning my energetic pattern, that I'm a projector energy and I'm not meant to build anything in this life. And then by going the next step to the gene keys in this time of energetic rebuild, and I'm gonna put an exclamation point, or really want you to understand that. I think the readiness for you to change, for you to really heal, has to come from somewhere. For me, it was trauma. I had to have a traumatic experience that kind of broke my energy, which put me in a place where I had no choice but to rebuild. One of the problems with these lives is if we don't get that opportunity, and I'm looking at it as a positive, and I always will, even though it was the most horrible thing I ever went through. We may never get the opportunity to do this, and we're not meant to in this lifetime. But one thing that I'm going to tell you is maybe is a hint to whether or not you are the listener already, is that you're listening to me right now. If you're on this path where you're looking for spiritual guidance, there's a good chance that you will have your own breakthrough. And these are decided before we come. So don't judge yourself if you don't have it, or if you don't do it in a way you think you should. I never imagined or dreamed that I would have the breakdown that I did from the horrific relationship that I had. I never dreamed that that would happen. I was always a self-aware person. But one of the things I was born with, and as a tool to get me here, is deep empathy for other people. More so for them than myself at times, especially in a love relationship. So I gave way more than I got in my last relationship, and it ended up breaking me. But that was the method that my soul chose before I came here. So why would I be mad at myself for waiting till I'm 58 years old to go through this? I was for a hot minute. I'm like, why the hell couldn't I gone through this at 30 and had 50 years left of my life to enjoy? It just doesn't work that way. I'm going to be 60 in a couple months, and that's how much time left I'll have to enjoy the rest of my life. It is what it is. But honestly, I don't give a shit about that. I'm an eternal soul. I'm only here for a brief period of time. Why would I care? All I care about is living the best life that I can, and however long I get to do that is however long I get to do that. It's none of my business. That's my soul's business. I'm just here to facilitate her. So when you can look at things from that grand scope, the little things that cause us anxiety or anguish or pain in this life, even if they're big in the moment, with this perspective, get really small really fast. So I was given this incredible gift. First of all, this traumatic breakdown. Second of all, was this rocket ship that took me to the outer edges of my mental self to show me where I'm going. And of course, the material, the gene keys and the human design, which I'm going to highly recommend, even as a novice or just curiosity, look into it. I'll link them for you somewhere on my website, but definitely on my YouTube channel. Just allow yourself to imagine or conceptualize what I'm talking about. And then once you allow your brain to do the part that it's able, and then put it aside, and allow your body, your energetic body, your life force, your soul to take over, and just kind of it's almost like a virtual reality. When you go into virtual reality, your brain isn't engaged. I mean, your brain's engaged to make your hands move, to do the motions, but you're engaged in a different level because you're brought to a different reality. So if you think of it like that, and allow your soul to give you this virtual reality experience, you let go of all your preconceptions about what you think you know about your human life and your existence here on this earth. and you're allowed to then again to then experience something ethereal. And this is the vastness that I speak of your soul. The vastness of your soul, who is this infinite being who has no boundaries, who is just this ethereal thing. Your life, your experience here becomes uh, a virtual reality experience where you go into these incredibly hard relationships or situations or human, experiences with our health or whatever. And then we take off the glasses and we're like ourselves again. And we're not the embodiment of those experiences. We are this ethereal being that is having an experience in this incredible realm. I mean, think of the Matrix. It's the same thing. And I love these movies. The Matrix, Lucy's another one that the creator comes really close to understanding because they're not understanding anything. Their soul is feeding them this. These incredible directors and producers, these people who create these movies about these amazing things, these impossible to conceptualize with our brain. These are people who have emanations from beings from other worlds that are feeding them this knowing. These sci-fi movies, all these incredible movies about this outer space and these experiences, these other beings, these are not things we think of as humans. These are coming from another part of us. So if you think of our life as a virtual reality experience, take the glasses off. You don't have to suffer it. Your soul is living in a whole different reality, a boundless, edgeless, infinite, beautiful, miraculous, forever reality. So when I put on the glasses and I have a life experience, I get home or I go to the river and I take those glasses off and I'm good. I get my perspective back. So back to the river. Find yourself someplace that resonates with you and go there. Get out of your life. Get out of your head, your brain. Get out of your experiences. Connect with the earth. Mother Earth, Gaia, she's here. We share energy with her. Take her in. Ask your aura to be colored by the greens and the blues and infused with the rays of the sun and the water. I mean, the Native Americans know this. The Native Americans who are the children of this earth and of the universe, who are the only ones who carry this wisdom. I should say, who cherish this wisdom and pass it along through their bloodline. If I could live with any group of people, with any community of people, besides the avatars in the blue beings in Avatar, I love that movie. Another gift from the universe, by the way. I would live with the Native Americans because they understand energy and they understand the soul and they understand the power of the earth and the sun. And they don't worship anything else because everything else is just I was going to say a figment of our imagination, but it's a it's a creation of our brains, of our egos. Worship the earth and the universe, the sun, the elements. That's what we are. So our lives go off track when we worship money or power or status or image or appearance or whatever our brains tell us we need, whatever our demons demand. And our demons are formed by our karma, So our demons are formed by our karma, and our karma becomes need in the world. So we have to satisfy, we have to relieve ourselves. So we do that through denying our karma and trying to overcome it with satisfying ourselves in ways that aren't satisfying energetically. So that's relationships that aren't good for us. It's bad habits, it's addictions, it's depression. We get stuck in our virtual reality and we don't know we can take off the glasses. Take off the fucking glasses and do it in a place where you feel comfortable and happy. It's not going to be at work. It's not going to be in a bad relationship. It's not going to be in an addiction. It's not going to be in anger or in pain. Remove yourself and go somewhere quiet and connect with the earth. That's the first step. Feel a part of something bigger than yourself for a minute, for 5 minutes, and then 10, and then every day. And let that be your life instead of this virtual reality that we come to experience. The reason why I brought this up at all was because when I got completely off track, but I believe when I sit down in front of this microphone, I'm taken where I need to go. And my spirit team tells me they're speaking through me, and I totally allow that. I give them full freedom to do that because the rest of my life, I'm an instrument for them. I don't need anything anymore. I don't need my life to be anything anymore other than satisfying. And I only find satisfaction through my soul and through this earth and through looking at the stars and the universe. There's no it's almost like I learned the whole game, now I'm kinda bored with it. When you solve the Rubik's Cube, you put it down, you do something else. I don't need the glasses anymore. I live beyond it now. Yes, I'm still having the experiences, but I'm in charge now. I'm not led around by it anymore. I allow what comes to me and how long it stays, or if it comes at all. And I'm not saying that as a boss lady, although that's what I am. I'm saying that as an empress, as a queen. This is my kingdom and I rule it now. We're all gods. And I know that may freak some people out who believe in a god, but we are gods in our own right. We are creators. Don't deny yourself that by hanging up your tools. We are, learn to use your tools. Open the manual. And I can actually send you to a manual. It's called the Gene Keys. It's the Golden Path series and it's amazing. And I don't get anything from them for telling you this. They have no idea that I'm telling you this. I'm just a small person I'm in one small corner of the internet talking about my life. And maybe you won't have the same experience because I was at a time in my life where I broke in half and I was rebuilding. There was no other way to go. If you're still choosing other ways besides your inner self, then you're not ready for this. You may not ever be ready in this lifetime, and that's okay. Your soul chose that. So don't beat yourself up for saying, I want to be the spiritually awakened person, but I keep going into these bad relationships. I keep drinking or overeating or whatevering you're doing. Don't beat yourself up because that's another way for your brain and your ego to tell you that you have control when you don't. Your soul decides that before they ever come here. But like I said, if you're still listening to me after 54 minutes of this podcast, there's a good indication you may be on your way to that. But again, it's none of our business, especially mine. But don't beat yourself up because everything that happens to you is part of a design of this life experience that your soul wanted to have. Every minute, every moment. So if I want to beat myself up about the fact that my ex-husband took advantage of me because I was too giving, I could beat the fuck out of myself the rest of my life. Sure. Go ahead. That's your path if you do it. Just do it. Don't feel bad about it. That's what you were meant to do. That's my point. So beating yourself up because your brain's telling you should have done something you didn't know to do is just another way for you to limit yourself. And another reason your brain is not equipped to take you on this journey. Your brain is only onboard navigation for the physical parts. Give your brain a break when it comes to the heavy lifting. That's your soul's job. It's so crazy how I don't know what I'm going to talk about and I end up on this. I'm still marveling at this process. So let me just tell you, my friend, relieve yourself of the stress of worrying that you're not doing what you're supposed to do. Let me tell you that you're doing exactly what you're meant to do. And wherever you go next is where you're meant to go. And if you're going towards another lesson, embrace it. Because on the other end of that lesson is a blessing. Because there will come a point where you're led somewhere that is just a blessing because your lessons are learned. You do get there eventually. And I'm not saying you will in this lifetime, but just let that go. Let that need go. Let all need go. And allow your soul to drive this incredibly capable human vehicle and enjoy this experience as it's meant to be enjoyed. But take off the glasses as often as you can and realize that you're in a virtual reality and that your soul is having an experience and you don't have to suffer it all the time. I'm having a ball. I'm still alone. I don't have a relationship. I know one's coming eventually, but I don't need it. I'm enjoying my life, even as limited as it is right now. But I know I'm inviting because of my energy and my aura. I'm whatever comes next to me will be beautiful, and I don't have to judge it, and I don't have to question it because that's where I am in my energetic soul life. And I'll keep you updated on whatever that is. Pain doesn't have to rule you. Pain can just teach you, and then you can move on. So look for your lessons. Become an expert lesson learner. Embrace it and just know on the other side of it is your blessing. That's how we evolve. We learn and we evolve from that learning, and we become lighter and less in need of lessons. And maybe eventually in one of these lifetimes, you won't need them ever again, and you will be free of karma and learning, and you can just enjoy whatever incarnation is next for you. My daughter is bringing a new life into this world. My daughter, who is an indigo child, who is bringing a rainbow child into this world. I'll do another podcast about that. But I have no anxiety about bringing in a child into this world, even as messed up as it is, because these children that are coming are going to change everything. And it's not a burden that I'm giving them. It is a mission that they are on. And because of that mission, they're being born into this life without the karma that we were. So I'm very excited about that. So I think I'm going to leave it there. I just want to thank you if you stayed this whole hour. I'm going to thank you for your time and just ask you to take care of yourself in any way that you can. And just know that you caring for yourself enables you to care for others. So just remember that and take care of yourself out there. And I will see you next time.